Alright folks, so in either my previous or my next upcoming video, we're going to be building a module for the CCRA, and it's going crazy.
From Tyco, of course.
Alright friends, so in either my next or my previous video, I don't know which one comes out first, we're building a module for the CCRA. And of course we got to scenic it. Now I've already got a couple of buildings, but I decided one thing a little town always needs is a fire station. Unfortunately, all the fire stations I ever find, well, they're too old. I wanted something a little more modern. So we're going to kind of scratch bash this one. Actually, we're going to scratch detail it into a fire department. And it's perfect for a fire department, believe it or not. At least like some of the ones here in Reno. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit about the Tyco kits that came out in the 70s and 60s, and the blue box, brown box, red box era, all those boxes. Well, you know, we kind of focus on the brown box era. So we are going to talk about the Tyco kits. And one of the ways we're going to go ahead and modify this to make it look more fire station-y, we're going to add an air raid siren. Because a lot of fire stations had sirens, and a little bit of history on sirens on fire stations, if you ever seen one. These were used, of course, like in the 1950s and 60s, before there were pagers, before there was cell phones, before all that fun stuff, as a way of calling volunteer firemen. They would hit the siren. And if you live on the West Coast or the Midwest or in Mena, you see sirens on top of fire stations for, like I said, calling firefighters, also air raid situations. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to add a siren to our building. We're going to motorize this, and we are going to get very psycho for Tyco buildings. By the mid-1950s, Tyco, which was now an offshoot of Mantua Metalworks since 1947, in its ready-to-run model train line, started producing buildings. Of course, these buildings and some of these operating structures were not actually built by Tyco, but subcontracted out by companies such as Aurora and Revell under the Tyco name. Many of these so-called kits were actually either pre-built or some minor assembly required, and it's assumed that the first ones would have been the lighted factory, the lighted train station, and the operating hopper. Other kits that unfortunately aren't included in this video would have been the truck unloading depot and the operating railroad crossings. These were not only produced by Tyco, but by Lifelike, AHM, and the like of that time period. All except for the truck depot, which to this day I can't figure out who the original producer is. In the 1970s, in the Consolidated Foods era, Tyco began to outsource more buildings and structures through Vollmer, Pola, and Keebri, all of which were German companies. So a lot of these buildings that were produced do represent some old 1930s theme, which was pretty common in Europe for model building. In the late 1970s, Tyco produced both what was called the Center Street and Contemporary series, which were designed in Tyco's plant and then sent out to the European companies to have them molded and produced. These kits still live on, as IHC, and in some cases have been reissued by Model Power and some of the more modern model railroad companies for moderately priced structures. Ironically, many of these kits have remained unchanged since they were produced. I mean, if you look at Aurora's schoolhouse, which is now the lighted factory, there's really not much of a difference. But collectors still seek them out for the box art works, which of course in the 1950s was exquisite, and there's actually a YouTube channel on model boxes, for a better choice of words. But of course, with the more modern-esque Tyco kits, it would just be a picture of a produced model that was probably done in-house by one of the model makers, and ironically would probably be the prototype for the mold making. So there you have it, folks. A brief, abridged, jazzy history of Tyco kits. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Alright, so we talked a bit about Tyco kits here, and as you'll know, this is a brown box era kit. And you can see right here in the instructions, a Consolidated Foods Company, and there's the fun Consolidated Foods logo. Now, one of the other reasons I want to do this as a fire station is, believe it or not, because I can add that on there. And this is one of the things I want to do with the modules that I'm building for the club, especially if I can get it ready and up for the home show, weather permitting, and that is animation. And for me, animation, other than just trains going around in a circle, is important. And it even says in, and we're going back to that website again, from Mr. Tony Cook, who is like the god. If you've ever seen like Forgotten Weapons, there is Ian, and Ian is a gun enthusiast and a collector, and people in the military gun world call him Gun Jesus. Well, with Forgotten Weapons having Gun Jesus, Tyco Trains has Tyco Jesus, which is Mr. Tony Cook. And once again, I'm referring to his website, about, you know, some of the things that Con Foods did that was good and bad, and one of them was animation, and he discusses that. So Tyco had a lot of animated kits, but a lot of these kits, as I stated earlier, were imported, so they were licensed under contract. So as you can see here, Tyco kit was made by Pola in West Germany. And of course, Pola went on to continue their contracting with other kits or other model railroad companies for their kit design. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put this away. We're going to go ahead and we're going to head over into the burb. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at a Reno Sparks area fire station that's rural enough that this can also kind of represent. It is an absolutely stunning, near the end of the year day here in northern Nevada. And so here we are. This is one of the more modern fire stations. This is fire station number 10. Out near where I live. This is a 2-stall fire station, obviously, and it's rather large. Now this was built in the early 80s. So this is a modern fire station, which not a lot of people build. I mean, the fire stations I've seen on eBay and such are like built by Pike Stuff and companies like that, and they're not quite that modern-esque. Now ours is going to be more of a 1960s model, which would be out by Minden, but the one in Minden is older than that. And if you can see right there, there's part of the old Western Pacific line. That's now Union Pacific. So a fire station by train tracks. Obviously, there's a prototype for everything. Now, one of the things we are going to have to do with our fire station, if you see here, as I'm zooming in, other than a flagpole, is we've got to have a hose drying tower. So we're going to have to add a hose drying tower and an air raid siren, because like I said, the air raid siren depicts an older 1960s, 1970s style fire station. Now we know what we need to accessorize this fire station. However, we have a big problem. I could not find any precast styrene sheets in this brick pattern. Now, I could have gone with a different brick pattern maybe, but I decided against it. I want to use the kind of existing brick pattern that will help give the illusion of a fire station, and that's kind of what we want to do. We want to turn the truck terminal into a fire station, so we need it to look more like a fire station. So what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a resin mold of this. And the first way we're going to do this is we're going to add this silicone rubber. We're going to pour it in here, and we're going to go ahead and we'll make our mold, and then we'll go ahead, and I found some resin over at Michael's, which was expensive as heck, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the mold. And this is the first time I've ever done a mold, so this should be a good portion of this video, because if I've never done it for the first time, you shouldn't be scared of trying it for the first time either. So let's go ahead and let's mix up our silicone rubber, and then we'll pour it into this little tray, which I also got at Michael's. It's for throwing sprinkles on stuff, and I think it's a deep enough tray that'll work for our purpose. Alright, so we went ahead and we poured in our silicone part A, silicone part B. We've mixed it all up. It's starting to cure. Now, when I did the first few initial pours, this wasn't set right, so I had to move it around while it was in the mix. It's looking good now. If you get bubbles in the mixing cup, it doesn't seem to, I don't seem to worry about that as much. Oh great, there's a hair in here. That's going to be interesting. At least I'm not worried about that side. So now I'm going to wait for this to cure, and as you can tell by the sound of the heater, it's 21 degrees right now. So this is going to cure for a while. So we're just going to sit, we're going to let it cure, and then we're going to attempt to pull the mold out, and then we'll go ahead and we'll pour our epoxy in, and then we'll use this section right here for the drying tower. Right, and roughly a week later, and I've had to wait this long for this to dry out. It's like every other day I was testing it, was giving my fingerprints so somebody could use this for a crime scene. But we're ready to go ahead and peel this on out. So I'm going to run my blade through here a couple of times so I can start peeling this off. And yeah, sharp blade is very important. Now let's see how easy this comes out. Oh, ooh. I thought I was going to have to use this thing. All right. Now we just peel this away from the mold. And we will be ready for resin. Alright, well, this is interesting. I'm going to have to cut around it. Because, as I can see here, and I didn't put this into account, was the fact that this was raised so it's not that flat. Learning curves for me, learning curves for you. I make the mistakes so you don't have to. Let's pop this on out. Alright. That came out nice and clean too. And we've got our in-depth detail. So now our next step is to make the resin, and really I'm only concerned with this part here. Now in order to do this, and I've learned from reading up on doing epoxy resins that oh wow, this thing is big. We are going to have to use some sort of a mold release in here, and I think I'm just going to go with some of my lubrication oil as a mold release. So our mix ratio, according to this, is 1:1 by volume. And this is our resin that we're going to be using. I just grabbed this at Michael's. Alright, so first we're going to go ahead, we're going to drop some oil in. There was actually a point where I was thinking, you know what? Let me use cooking spray. And I thought about it and I went, maybe not. Now this is really going to be a one-time use on this mold. So I'm not entirely worried. Work time is 20 to 25 minutes. The full cure is 3 to 5 days. So yeah, this definitely came out after our building the module, even though I wasn't able to build the module. So this is going to go somewhere, it's going to stay somewhere, and it's... I wonder if I can use this as a toy. This has come back after another video that I've done. We're we're just going to put this back in the tray here. And we're going to wait about 3 to 5 days. I kind of want our cast to be flatter. Now, for some of you old hats in the model railroad industry, you may have heard of a thing called lost wax casting. And what lost wax casting is you make a wax master, and then you cast in your copper or your brass or whatever molten material you put into that. And of course, once everything's done, then the wax melts off and you have your cast. That, I think, is the concept of lost wax casting. But this is kind of the same method, so I'm not really 100% worried about the mold getting destroyed. We're only going to use it for one time, and we're going to stick with that. Ooh, wow, this stuff is like... And yes, it's the first time I've ever worked with resin, which is fun. But again, I'm here to hopefully make this easy for y'all, and also to make the mistakes so you don't have to. Come on, give me 30. Alright, let me mix this up. Did this thing come with any stir pieces? Oh, yeah, okay. Whew. Yay. I was worried there for a minute. This stuff is like super gooey. And this should actually be enough to... This 30 milliliters of what I bought this, which was $45 freaking dollars. Thanks, Michaels, for not putting a price on that. I was hoping for $20. But I guess if I ever need to do any more casting, I know where to go. Of course, a simple rubber mold, that was, I'd say roughly about $20. Okay, we're going to do one more. Are we going to do one more? We're going to do one more. A little bit more in here. That should work right there. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll wait 3 to 5 more days on my end. On your end, it's gonna not be that far away, obviously. And so we will be back with our resin mold. Hey friends, thanks for watching the video. I know you're at the end, but if you like this video, just remember every 2 weeks I'm going to be bringing out a new video on budget model railroading, the history of Tyco trains, the history of other model railroad companies, and some how-to things that maybe you've never learned before or you've known and you want to share with your friends but you never knew how. Well, here's the way. All you got to do on this video is like, share, subscribe, and if you want notifications, hit the little bell there, which I still don't know how to do, but we'll figure it out eventually. But until then, hey, we'll see you in the next video, and I am Psycho for Tyco.